the fate of Venezuela's president, Nicolás Maduro, could very well now depend entirely on the goodwill and strategic maneuvering of a single influential figure whom Donald Trump is making every possible effort to court and persuade through intense diplomatic overtures and personal appeals in these tense geopolitical times. According to a recent report in the Washington Post, if Nicolás Maduro begins seriously contemplating the option of self-imposed exile amid mounting pressures at home and abroad, he might discover a surprisingly secure and welcoming refuge right there in Turkey, far from the immediate threats of intervention or arrest. Drawing directly from anonymous but high-level U.S. intelligence sources, the Washington Post has revealed that in the event of a sudden and chaotic unraveling of the situation in Venezuela, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdoğan could step in decisively to extend formal protection and asylum to Maduro, shielding him from potential extradition or worse. Over the years, the Turkish president and Maduro have cultivated and sustained exceptionally robust ties on both the diplomatic front, through frequent high-level exchanges and mutual support in international forums, and the economic front, via lucrative trade agreements and investments that have weathered global sanctions and regional instability. In the immediate aftermath of Maduro's highly divisive and widely contested victory in the 2024 presidential election, which sparked immediate outrage and protests across Venezuela, Erdogan made a noteworthy and uncommon gesture by placing a personal congratulatory phone call to the embattled leader, signaling Turkey's unwavering solidarity at a critical juncture. Maduro's hard-fought presidential election triumph back in 2024 was swiftly and emphatically denounced as fraudulent and illegitimate not only by the United States government under its current administration but also by a broad coalition of no fewer than 50 other nations around the world, who refused to recognize the results and imposed fresh layers of diplomatic isolation. According to those same well-placed sources within the U.S. foreign policy apparatus, any prospective arrangement for Maduro's exile to Turkey would almost certainly be structured around a series of ironclad guarantees negotiated in advance to safeguard his long-term security and autonomy in the host country. These so-called guarantees would, in all likelihood, be explicitly designed to prevent any possibility of Maduro being forcibly extradited or handed over to authorities in the United States, where he faces a raft of serious charges related to corruption, human rights abuses, and narco-trafficking that could lead to life imprisonment or harsher penalties. President Erdogan has earned glowing praise from Donald Trump specifically for his pivotal role in facilitating the fragile Gaza ceasefire negotiations, where he successfully leveraged Turkey's unique position to bring the Hamas leadership to the negotiating table and keep talks alive despite repeated breakdowns and external interferences. In addition to his efforts in the Middle East, Turkey under Erdogan's leadership has repeatedly positioned itself as a neutral and effective mediator by hosting substantive peace talks between Moscow and Kiev aimed at resolving the ongoing Ukraine conflict, and international observers widely expect Ankara to reprise this vital role in upcoming rounds of dialogue that could reshape European security dynamics. As one expert astutely observes, Turkey stands out as the ideal and perfectly balanced destination that serves the strategic interests of both Donald Trump in advancing U.S. foreign policy goals without unnecessary complications and Nicolás Maduro in securing a dignified retreat from power. He further elaborates, should Maduro choose to seek refuge in Russia, he risks vanishing into complete obscurity and irrelevance, much like how Syrian President Bashar al-Assad has faded from the global stage during his own prolonged Russian exile amid endless isolation. The analyst continues with a stark warning. Alternatively, if he opts for Cuba as a fallback, he's stepping into a nation whose economy is in freefall with hyperinflation and shortages crippling daily life, coupled with severely restricted freedom of movement that traps exiles in a gilded cage. Good luck thriving under those suffocating conditions. Finally, wrapping up his insightful commentary, Maduro's potential departure to Turkey offers a win-win scenario that preserves Donald Trump's political credibility since it avoids any perception of Maduro fleeing to an adversarial, dark-side regime, while for Maduro himself, it ensures a sense of genuine safety and stability without the constant fear of betrayal or reprisal. It is particularly noteworthy in this unfolding drama that the Turkish president and the US President Donald Trump held a highly anticipated face-to-face summit right there at the White House on September 25, marking a key moment of direct engagement between the two leaders amid swirling rumors of back-channel discussions on Venezuela. That September 25 meeting between Erdogan and Trump unfolded with an unusually cordial and productive tone, especially when measured against the often fractious and headline-grabbing standards of recent Oval Office encounters that have devolved into public spats or walkouts over irreconcilable differences. In a moment captured on camera that spoke volumes about their budding rapport, Trump turned to Erdogan with visible admiration and declared, "He's respected very much not just in his own country where his leadership commands deep loyalty from millions, but all throughout Europe as well," all while gesturing emphatically toward the Turkish leader to underscore his point. Donald Trump has made it abundantly clear through repeated public statements and policy actions that he desperately wants Nicolás Maduro removed from power in Venezuela once and for all, while insisting with fervor that his entire aggressive pursuit is driven solely by a laser-focused, anti-drugs agenda aimed at dismantling trafficking networks that threaten American communities. For years now, Washington under Trump's directive has leveled explosive accusations against Nicolás Maduro personally, charging that he is actively orchestrating and profiting from powerful drug cartels that systematically smuggle massive quantities of narcotics, including cocaine and fentanyl precursors, directly into the United States, fueling the opioid crisis and undermining national security from within. In vehement response to these allegations, Maduro has categorically rejected every single claim as baseless and malicious, firing back that the US president is nothing more than a warmonger who is deliberately fabricating a new war pretext to justify imperialistic interference in sovereign Venezuelan affairs and distract from domestic failures at home. In the thick of Trump's escalating rhetorical and operational campaign against the Maduro regime, the United States military has taken decisive action by launching precision strikes on multiple suspicious vessels operating in the Caribbean Sea, targeting what officials describe as floating hubs for drug smuggling and money laundering tied directly to Caracas.
All of you are backbone of America, and you really are the backbone of America's air power. And in recent weeks, you've been working to deter Venezuelan drug traffickers, of which there are many. Of course, there aren't too many coming in by sea anymore, have you probably noticed that? From sending their poisons into the United States, where they kill hundreds of thousands of people a year. But we're going to take care of that situation. We're already doing a lot. We've almost stopped. It's about 85% stopped by sea. You probably noticed that. People aren't wanting to be delivering by sea. And we'll be starting to stop them by land also. The land is easier, but that's going to start very soon. We warn them, stop sending poison to our country.
Trump's bold and inflammatory claims regarding Maduro's alleged criminal empire have drawn fierce and multifaceted scrutiny not only from Democratic lawmakers who decry them as reckless saber-rattling but also from a growing chorus of Republicans within his own party who worry about the legal and ethical boundaries being tested. Just this week, in a bold and unified stand against perceived overreach, 6 prominent Democratic members of Congress issued a formal and urgent public call imploring U.S. troops stationed in the region to exercise their moral duty and refuse to comply with any orders they deem patently illegal or in violation of international law and constitutional protections. In a fiery counterattack delivered via social media and press briefings, Trump wasted no time in branding these 6 Democratic critics as dangerously seditious actors whose words amount to nothing short of treasonous incitement, warning that such behavior could expose them to severe consequences potentially punishable by death under statutes governing threats to national security during wartime. A slew of recent nationwide polls from reputable firms have painted a sobering picture for the administration, indicating that Trump's unrelenting push against Maduro is increasingly viewed by a majority of voters as a troubling and hypocritical betrayal of his core 2024 campaign pledge to steer clear of no more wars and prioritize America first isolationism over costly foreign entanglements.